This is the plaintiff, Deborah Freed. She says her former friend owes her money she loaned her so she could get the transmission in her car fixed. And sure enough, she can't get the defendant to pay her back in full. It's been over 5 years, for crying out loud. And she has no other choice but to sue for the $2,125 she's owed. This is the defendant, Carolyn. She says the plaintiff gave her the money as a pure gift out of the kindness of her heart and is now turning things around, claiming it was a loan. She has no idea why this woman turned on her and flipped out, but a gift is a gift, and she owes nothing. She's accused of fouling up a friendship.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says she loaned her former good friend money and, yes, did not get paid back. Got stiffed. But the defendant says the money was a gift, and now the plaintiff is trying to turn it into a loan. It's the case of fouling up a friendship.
All right, Ms. Freed, talk to me. What happened?
Well, first off, hello. I love you, Judge Melion. And I'm really nervous.
You love me too, right, Ms. Caroline?
Yes.
Yeah, now you're even. All right, go ahead.
What
happened?
I knew you were going to say that.
Right.
I met Carolyn in 2015, April 1st. In October of 2015, she broke down on the side of the road. Her transmission had gone out. One of her friends had gotten a GoFundMe together. I don't know if Carolyn knows this, but I anonymously put $500 into that account. We became pretty good friends, and I was talking to her on the phone shortly after that, and she was needing to go to the bank. She was going to try to get a loan, a personal loan, to get the guys to be able to fix the transmission, which at the time they said was $3,400 with a 1-year warranty on it. And I asked her a bunch more questions, and she said they couldn't get started until she had some money, so that's why she was going to get the loan. And I asked if she needed a ride and she's to the bank, and she said yes. So I asked her what time to pick her up the next day. And then as I asked more questions, I asked how much was in the account, the GoFundMe, and she said it was like $880. And I said, okay. And then I asked if she would accept a loan from me. Specifically those words, would she accept a loan from me? And it's in a Facebook message. And she said, oh my God, you're kidding. Yes, of course. However she said it. And I don't know how I'll pay you back. Maybe I can clear out my 401k.
Hold on one second. I'd like to see those Facebook messages.
Yeah.
Good morning. I talked to the guys. The transmission will be $3,200. I'll be able to pull $807 from the GoFundMe. Can give you that money. Good morning. Thank you again for loaning me money for my car. I've gotten the habit of not sleeping and stressing. It hasn't settled in my bones. Blah, 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 blah. All right, so go on and tell me what happened. So you loaned her how much money?
$3,200.
Okay. And then there's a place where she says, I can give you the money from the GoFundMe. Does she give you the money from the GoFundMe?
No.
No. And you never told her until right now at this trial that you funded $500 of the $800 GoFundMe?
No.
Did you know, Ms. Caroline, that she had funded $500 of the $800 GoFundMe?
No, she was anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So not only did she loan you $3,200, of which you have yet to pay $2,000, but she also gave you $500 to help you with your problems, and she's waited 5 years to get repaid. So I'm dying to hear what your defense is.
Okay. She gave it to me as a gift as she got an inheritance from her late husband dying. And then in 2018, she said, it's not a gift. I need you to pay me back. So I started paying her back, and she started texting, calling, emailing, and sending letters to me, my 75-year-old mother, and my 55-year-old sister who live out of state have nothing to do with our personal
Well,
business.
why was she communicating with your sister?
I'm not sure. Initially, I'm not even sure
Why
how
don't
she
you
got
tell me,
their
Ms.
email
Freed,
address.
why was she communicating why were you communicating with her sister?
I was communicating with her sister because I don't have the dates right. When all of this, when she completely ghosted me and unfriended me, she was going through some pretty significant mental issues because of a breakup with a guy that she was really in love with. And Richard and I, my fiance, went. We were on our way to the movies. She called. They had just broke up. We dropped everything, went over all the way up to her house, which is an hour away almost, picked her up, took her out to eat, bought her $100 worth of groceries, brought her back home. And then she talked about how she couldn't stand her job. She was falling apart because of this guy. The apartment was so lonely, blah, blah, blah. And so Richard and I sat down and discussed something to help her and also help me get my money back, which was giving her a place to stay because her lease was almost up on her apartment. She was so unhappy there. So Richard said, well, let's offer her the whole lower level, which has its own bathroom, laundry. She would have off-street parking, all the utilities, Wi-Fi, whatever she needed, a refrigerator for her groceries, use of the kitchen, the whole shoot match. We would have stored her furniture. She could have brought her own bed into the lower level, all of that stuff. And she flipped out on me. And that's when she unfriended me. I guess she said I made her break out in hives.
Why did she flip out on you? Why did she flip out on you? What was it? I mean, that was your offer was for her to be there rent free, and then the money she would spend on rent, she would actually pay you back the money that she still owed you, and she flipped out. Why?
When I text messaged her, this is the only thing I know for sure because she stopped talking to me then. So I don't know. She never addressed any of this with me, other than to say I had caused her to break out in hives because all these text messages. I was excited to offer her this stuff, and she said that I made her break out in hives because all these text messages came into her work, like 20 of them in a row. But what happens sometimes with my text messages, and I do get wordy.
You don't need to explain
sometimes.
that. So you've introduced a picture into evidence to show me, Ms. Caroline, you with hives. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I know how to get rid of hives. Don't feel guilty. What is it that is your defense? When she suggests to you, I'll tell you what, move in here, blah, blah, blah. Why was that not a good offer and a kind offer in order to get you to pay back the loan? What was the problem?
I currently live 5 minutes from my work, and she lives 1 hour from my work. And I felt like it was controlling.
Oh, that's super inconvenient. Oh, yeah, no. Oh, no, heavens no. Oh, she can drive an hour to go console you when you break up with somebody, but you're not going to be driving an hour to and from work. And you feel that the offer is controlling as opposed to generous. All right, let me understand something because I'm really at a loss, Miss Freed. What did you see in her? Why were you being so kind? Why were you being so patient? Why, throughout the course of a full 5.5 years, did you sit there and continue to come up with suggestions and ways of, why?
Richard was friends with Carolyn at a different job where they both worked together. And that's how I met her. He introduced me to her through Facebook.
Yeah, but so what? Usually when people take advantage of you, you stop. Like most people, if someone because your testimony is it's a loan. She's saying it's a gift, and I'll get into that with her in one moment. But you're saying it's a loan. So if I loan you money and it takes 5 years and you haven't paid me back, at some point in year 1 or 2, I'm going to start to get angry. How come you and Richard don't get angry? Why do you keep just offering her opportunities?
I guess because I love her, or I did. She was my best friend when I moved to Pennsylvania. I don't know. I still care about her. I don't really wish her.
I know. I know. I see the letters that you write to her now. When you're writing to her, I'm so sorry if I've hurt you, but it's a lot of, I'm sitting there saying, when is a friendship so one-sided that you need to cross her off your list because it's not being reciprocated. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a matter of self-preservation.
I know. I'm a almost 64-year-old woman. You'd think a 64-year-old woman that just...
Yeah, you're going to have to make some friends somewhere else because this was, at some point you need to see the writing on the wall that this is not reciprocated. Now that we've seen your hives and the way someone's efforts to collect a debt affect you, can you tell me what evidence do you have that this was a gift rather than a loan?
I guess it's just verbal. And then she changed it in 2018. And that's when I sent her first check, because out of the kindness of my heart, I want to give her the money back because she said she was struggling
kindness of
then.
your heart.
So,
kindness of your heart.
Reciprocate.
Here are your Facebook messages with her. Do you need a ride? I can come get you. What time? That's what friends are for. How much has the GoFundMe raised? Would you consider a loan from me? Your answer, Caroline. Are you serious? I would need to figure out how to pay it back. I'm looking into wiping out my 401k. What does that look like? Does that look like a gift or does that look like a loan?
That looks like a loan there.
Sure does. So then let's think this through. Here you are 5 years later. You haven't finished paying her off. She has begged you for years to become friends again and that she cares for you, but that you have to come up with a way to pay her off. She has patiently not sued you because she doesn't want you to break out into hives for 5 years, okay? Her statute of limitations has not run because statute of limitations when it comes to debts, the clock starts again every time you end up writing another check and send it to her. We know that you've paid her, and this is really getting to me. In some of the checks, you actually wrote in the memo line gift. What was that about?
I think the one I wrote gift return, the other ones I crossed out, and she tried to imitate my handwriting and write the word loan. She even used my A has a hook on the top.
She doesn't need to. She's got the Facebook messages and the text where you know it's a loan. You're the one who's a liar. She knows what the truth is. So she doesn't have to write anything on checks. And why, by the way, usually when something's a gift, you're not paying it back. So the person who writes gift is actually the one who's evil enough to be trying to create a defense, but not thinking through. They're not very smart. They're not actually thinking, well, why am I paying it back if it's a gift? But here's the thing. I am aghast, Ms. Caroline, that when you needed help, the person who came to your aid is this incredibly nice plaintiff, Ms. Freed, and her boyfriend, Richard. What kind of person not only doesn't pay her back in 5 stinking years, because you could have paid her back a little here, a little there, and kept going. What kind of person not only doesn't pay her back, but comes to court and puts her right hand to God and perjures herself and claims it was a gift?
It initially was a gift, and then she wanted it to be a loan.
Miss Caroline, how can it be a gift when I'm showing you? Miss Caroline, the jig is up here. You cannot keep saying it initially was a gift because here's the evidence that you're a liar. Would you consider a loan from me? And are you serious? I would need to figure out how I'm going to pay it back. When you're back on your feet, we can figure it out. Thank you. You're so kind. Kindly tell me how that's a gift. It's not. You are a user, Miss Caroline. That's what you are. You are a user. Because what should be happening is you should be putting your tail between your legs, looking at me and saying, listen, I've had a horrible 5 years, which is not believable because 5 years is plenty of time. And then saying, I don't know how I can pay her back, but maybe we can work out a payment plan, Judge. Not you, though. You're walking in here lying about it being a gift and then pretending that she's a liar. That's what you do. You know why nobody helps you out when you need help? This is why. And you, Ms. Freed, need to figure out who in this life is worth it and who is not. I am ruling in favor of the plaintiff in this case in the amount of the $2,000 that you still owe her, and I am attaching prejudgment statutory interest to that since the date of the last payment. End your court costs. That is my verdict.
So the plaintiff prevails. She'll get $2,000 plus interest back from the defendant in this case. Carolyn, the defendant, how do you feel right now? I would think you feel pretty embarrassed.
Yeah, I feel like I should have countersued for harassment. She's incessantly bothered me and my family, even threatened to show up at my work and my home. And I'm a single woman and struggling and gone through some serious stuff in the past 5 years, and she knows it. That's why she was being patient. And I try to pay what I can. I live by myself. Yep.
Doesn't bother you that the judge called you a user? And that's what you are? That's what she said? A user. Doesn't bother you, huh?
No, that's sad because I've helped her a lot in many other ways, not financially, but
That should be food for thought for you. You know, it really should. All right, well, you owe her $2,000, and you got to give it to her now. Sorry about that. Ms. Freed, the judge had some advice for you, too, wondering why have you put up with this for so long, and maybe you should think about that. Anyway, you're going to get the money back, okay? $2,000 plus interest?
Yes, I appreciate the judge, and I just wish the best for Carolyn even after all this. So, and it's nice to meet you, Doug.
Okay, very good. Nice to meet you, too. Congratulations. Okay, Harvey.
Okay, Doug. This is a situation we've seen a million times in the People's Court, that when you have loan versus gift, there's a presumption that it's a loan, and that makes sense because it's fair. To blow up the presumption that it's a gift, you got to have proof. Now, if you give somebody money and it's a loan, write it down, send a text, an email. That way you got proof positive.
The question is, I loaned my mother money 3 years ago, and she hasn't paid me back. I want to start charging her interest. Can I start the interest from the time of the loan 3 years ago? And is 10% a year an acceptable rate?
Normally, any loan is going to have an interest component, a long-term loan of a significant amount of money. The only time it's not going to have a term like that in the loan terms would be maybe when you're lending money to your mom.
Right.
Okay, or your dad, or a family member, a close friend, a family member, and then you might forego that. But what you cannot do is start writing terms into a contract 3 years along and say, by the way, it's going to be interest on the loan.
Right. But, let's say mom said, I'll pay it off in a year, and then it's been 3 years. So you may be able to get a judge to award you that if you are actually going to go to court. Otherwise, just sit down, try to hammer something out now that has terms that both of you accept from here on in.
Right.
If your mother refuses, you could, and I have it every day. So if you're going to go to court, you had better be in a position to show that it's not a gift before you do something that's going to last forever, which is suing your mother.
And frankly, at the end of the day, don't sue your mom. Just take your walk.
I don't know. Some mothers need suing, John.